Burkina Faso is in crisis, and the cracks in its military leadership are becoming more visible every day. A failed coup attempt in 2024 has brought attention to growing tensions within the army and the public's waning confidence in Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the military leader who promised stability but is now fighting to hold on to power. For many in the country, the question isn't just about Traoré's leadership, it's about survival in a nation torn apart by conflict and political instability. When you hear about a country like Burkina Faso, do you think about the everyday struggles its people are going through? Or is it the political drama that grabs your attention? In many ways, the two are inseparable. A leader's ability to maintain control in times of crisis affects every facet of life, from security to food supply to education. But let's dig deeper into what's really happening in Burkina Faso and why another failed coup attempt reveals so much about the future of the country. The rise of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. In October 2022, Burkina Faso saw the rise of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a relatively young military officer who took power in a coup that ousted Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, another military leader. Traoré's rise wasn't just a random act of rebellion, it was part of a broader wave of military takeovers across West Africa. Countries like Mali and Guinea had already experienced similar events, and the region as a whole has seen increasing instability due to rising jihadist violence and failing governance. Traoré, often referred to as IB locally, promised to bring security to a nation that was being ripped apart by insurgents. At the time, armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIL were gaining ground in the northern and eastern parts of the country, and the government seemed powerless to stop them. Traoré vowed to change that. He pledged to restore order, hold elections, and eventually transition Burkina Faso back to a democratic government. But here we are, 2 years later, and the situation has only gotten worse. The Manila Attack, a crushing blow to Traoré's leadership. One of the most significant events that triggered the recent wave of unrest was the attack on an army base in Manila, near the border with Niger, on June 11, 2024. Fighters from Jama'at Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group, launched a devastating assault that left dozens of soldiers dead. According to JNIM's own statements, 107 Burkinabe soldiers were killed in the attack, making it one of the deadliest incidents the military has faced since the insurgency began in 2015. The attack wasn't just a loss of soldiers, it was a symbolic defeat for Traoré. The military was supposed to be his stronghold, the institution that he had promised to reform and strengthen. But the Manila attack revealed deep weaknesses within the army. Videos shared by JNIM showed militants casually riding motorcycles, wielding captured military-grade weapons, and even showcasing captured Burkinabe soldiers. At this point, you have to wonder, how does a leader regain the trust of his troops after such a massive failure? How does he convince them and the public that he's still capable of protecting the nation? Gunfire in the capital, signs of a coup or just chaos? The day after the Manila attack, more unrest unfolded in Ouagadougou, the capital. On June 12th, gunshots were heard near the offices of Radio Television du Burkina, the country's national broadcaster, located close to the presidential palace. At the time, Captain Traoré was holding a meeting with his council of ministers. The shooting led to a frenzy of speculation, with many wondering if this was the beginning of another coup attempt. In Burkina Faso, control of the national broadcaster has historically been a key part of successful coups. It's where military leaders announce their takeovers, so when shots were fired in its vicinity, people feared the worst. Cars in the broadcaster's parking lot were riddled with bullets, and 2 people were injured. Initially, the government remained silent on the incident, which only fueled rumors. A few days later, Traoré reappeared and claimed that the gunfire was a result of friendly fire. He said that soldiers stationed at the broadcaster had mistakenly fired shots while trying to secure the area. But by that time, the silence and the rumors had already done damage to Traoré's image. Many began questioning whether he was truly in control of the military or if internal dissent was growing. Traoré's response: silence, denial, and cracking down on dissent. The failed coup attempt in June wasn't the first challenge to Traoré's leadership. In both September 2023 and January 2024, there were reported coup attempts that were quickly thwarted. In response, Traoré has become increasingly authoritarian, arresting those he suspects of plotting against him and sending some military personnel abroad, often under the guise of re-education programs in places like Russia. It's important to note that Traoré's relationship with Russia has been growing, especially as Burkina Faso distances itself from France, its former colonial ruler. French troops, who had been stationed in the country to help combat jihadist groups, were withdrawn last year as tensions between Traoré and Paris escalated. In their place, there are now reports of Russian mercenaries, possibly linked to the Wagner Group, being deployed to Burkina Faso. But Traoré's increasing reliance on foreign forces and his crackdown on dissent within his own military raise serious concerns. How sustainable is a regime that stays in power by suppressing internal criticism? And what happens when those foreign forces are no longer enough to prop up the government? The human cost: Burkina Faso's worsening humanitarian crisis. While Traoré fights to maintain control of the military, the people of Burkina Faso are paying a heavy price. The country is in the grips of a severe humanitarian crisis, and the violence is forcing tens of thousands to flee their homes. The northern and eastern regions of the country, where jihadist groups hold sway, are becoming unlivable for many. By 2024, over 2 million people were trapped in villages controlled by armed groups. These areas have become blockaded, with little to no access to food, medicine, or basic services. The military has also been accused of cordoning off certain regions, preventing trade and essential goods from reaching those in need. In places like Djibo, the population has swelled with displaced people, and humanitarian aid has struggled to keep up. Food insecurity is at crisis levels. Save the Children has estimated that 1.4 million children in Burkina Faso will face extreme hunger during the 2024 lean season. This is happening in a country that, despite its poverty, had been relatively stable before the rise of jihadist violence. But now, between the worsening conflict and the skyrocketing inflation, the future looks bleak for many Burkinabe. The shift from France to Russia, a dangerous gamble? One of the most significant shifts in Burkina Faso's recent history has been its pivot away from France and toward Russia. After years of relying on French military aid to combat jihadist groups, Traoré's regime has chosen to sever ties with Paris and turn to Moscow for support. This pivot isn't just a matter of military strategy, it's part of a broader anti-French sentiment that has been growing in the region. Traoré has framed France as a former colonial power that has done little to help Burkina Faso overcome its current challenges. His supporters have rallied around this anti-imperialist rhetoric, and in 2023, French media outlets like RFI and TV5 Monde were banned in the country. But while Traoré has gained popularity for his anti-French stance, his decision to ally with Russia is a risky one. Russian mercenaries from the Wagner Group have a notorious reputation for human rights abuses, and their presence in neighboring Mali has done little to stabilize the situation there. Moreover, as Traoré leans more on foreign mercenaries, questions are being raised about the sovereignty of Burkina Faso's government. Is Traoré leading the country toward greater independence, or is he simply trading one foreign power for another? What's next for Burkina Faso? So, where does all of this leave Burkina Faso? Traoré's regime is facing mounting pressure from all sides. Internally, the military is growing restless, and the failed coup attempt in June is just the latest indication of rising dissent. Externally, the jihadist insurgency shows no signs of slowing down, and even with increased military spending and the creation of rapid response units, the Burkinabe military seems ill-prepared to stem the tide of violence. Traoré's government has touted the recruitment of 50,000 volunteers for the defense of the homeland, a militia force meant to aid the military. But many of these volunteers receive little to no training, making them vulnerable to losses in battle. Some have even reported being sent to the front lines with minimal preparation, a situation that has only fueled dissatisfaction within the ranks. For the people of Burkina Faso, the future remains uncertain. The country is experiencing its most severe crisis in decades, and there is no clear path to peace or stability. The combination of internal dissent, external threats, and a worsening humanitarian crisis has created a perfect storm, one that even a strong military leader might struggle to navigate. Power struggle. The failed coup attempt in June 2024 has exposed deep rifts within the military and cast doubt on Captain Ibrahim Traoré's ability to maintain control. With the country's security situation worsening by the day, the people of Burkina Faso are caught in the middle of a power struggle that seems far from over. What's next for Traoré? Can he hold on to power, or will Burkina Faso see yet another coup in the near future? More importantly, what does the future hold for the millions of people affected by the violence and instability? Only time will tell. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. What are your thoughts on Traoré's leadership and Burkina Faso's shift toward Russia? Do you think a solution to the crisis is possible? Or is the country heading toward even more instability?